Good to be with you once again, brothers and sisters, and all praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Now, again, brothers and sisters, we know, of course, that this picture may offend. We don't care. Negroes, they are bowing down to Caucasian theology. And many of these pastors, many of these black pastors, all the time they were under this system. They sought what the system gave. And what the system gave, because if you think that the state has nothing to do with religion, you're wrong. It does. It was always the force behind religion. Religion of itself cannot force anything. It has to have a power with it. And if the power is behind religion, also what is taught comes from that same power. So don't be fooled. What these pastors are teaching on Sunday morning, oh, salvation to all, God's grace to all, God's only love. He's love, the love of the Lord, love, all in which I consider is a smokescreen to keep you from the truth, the real truth of what's going to happen. And see, that's why we're glad, brothers and sisters, we have a small base, because you like the video based upon what you learned, not because of me. I keep telling you, brothers and sisters, you better avoid the teacher. The teacher that reads the verses to you are reading them to you because one day you may have to read in my place. Or we read it together. Never know. That's why we give you so many chapters and verses, so you will have the defense. Irrefutable defense. Now, again, we're going into the reality of this book. The destiny for Israel, the destiny for the Gentiles. That is what this is going to be about. Now, we're in Genesis 14:18. It reads, "And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God." Look at this. "And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth." So Abraham is the possessor of heaven and earth. We've got to find out what this means. If Abraham is the possessor of heaven, is he the possessor of where God sits set on the throne? No. Let us show you this heaven. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Deuteronomy. Now we're going to go to a lot of verses to prove the heaven, and then we're going to have to circle right back around and go into it again, because you're going to see the destiny for one people and the destiny for another. I hate to call it destiny, but I would say what you're going to see is the way God meant it not only started in the time of Moses, and is in the time of Moses, but it's also going to be in the time of Christ. From people to people. Now, again, I'm going to read this because I need to get into it. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. So let's take a look at this heaven. I want to go to Deuteronomy 11 and 20. I got so many places. We'll start in verse 19. Now, this is talking about the law. Deuteronomy 11:19. It says, And ye shall teach them your children. Now, and ye shall teach them, the them are the laws. The them are the commandments. This is the them. And ye shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. So, teach your children when you're in your home, when you leave your home, before you go to bed, and when you get up. These laws need to be circulating through the system. Watch. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house. So on every house, there should be the law. And upon thy gates, in the law shall be upon the city. The entering in of a small city, the law needs to be there too, showing you this is what we do. Now, this is a stipulation, brothers and sisters, if you didn't know. Okay? So what would happen? That the your is the children of Israel. Remember this. The your is the children of Israel. That your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. Oh, there's that heaven. The days of heaven upon the earth. So there is your heaven and there is your earth. Pay attention. Now remember, Genesis 14:19 says Abraham was the possessor of heaven and earth. Now here you see if Israel keeps the law. If Israel keeps the law, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them. So they're going to be in the land as the days of heaven upon the earth. So the days of heaven upon the earth would be if Israel kept the law. Understand where we're going here. Now, when it says the days of heaven upon the earth, let's drop down and see what the heaven would look like. The book of Deuteronomy 11:22. For if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you, to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and cleave unto him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. Oh, look. And ye shall possess. So when Israel had their heaven upon the earth, they would possess other nations. Understand what we're showing you. If Israel kept, let me put that back up on the screen. I'm sorry. If Israel kept the law, if they kept the law mentioned in verse 20, listen closely. Verse 20, their days would be multiplied in the land that he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as the days of heaven upon the earth. So Israel would have heaven upon the earth. And in their heaven, they would possess nations. Possession. Oh, if you're possessing a nation, then nations are in captivity to you. under you, slaves to you. Watch this, verse 24. Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. Everything is yours. Everything. Look, this is their heaven upon the earth. There shall no man be able to stand before you. For the Lord your God shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the land that ye shall tread upon, as he hath said unto you. Look at this. These are the days of heaven for Israel now. So the days of heaven upon the earth came with Israel possessing nations. Wherever their foot would tread would be yours. You're not only possessing nations, you're possessing everything, all the lands. Hey now, and no man shall be able to stand before you. This is that heaven. If Israel, look, if Israel as a nation kept the law, they would have the days of heaven upon the earth, which means that they would possess nations and be able to go anywhere they wanted. And no man would be able to do anything about it. That was heaven. That was heaven. If Israel kept the law, not the mixed multitude, not anybody else. If Israel kept the law, it would be as the days of heaven upon the earth. And it says it again. We're going to look at it again in the book of Psalms 89. Watch this. This is why we know that when you talk about heaven, nobody really wants to talk about the things that matter. What do I want to start here? Going here. Let's do this. The book of Psalms 89:27. Also, I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. So you can see who this is talking about. Higher than the kings of the earth. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. The days of heaven. Up there where God dwells doesn't have days. God doesn't live by days. He lives out of time. So the days of heaven would be on the earth, meaning the throne, which is the kingdom, was heaven. Rulership. See, when it says, and his throne as the days of heaven means rulership, throne. If this king continued in the law, then his seed also would endure forever, and his throne, his power, as the days of heaven. So now you can see what the heaven was: a throne, power. Now, we're going to go back and look at Leviticus 26. And we're going to start in verse 3, and we're going to drop down to verse 14. Now this, again, brothers and sisters, is a stipulation. Nothing's given to you like these Christians teach. Everything's by design. Just don't get caught up in it. Leviticus 26:3. If ye will walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them. If you will walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them. Verse 9. For I will have respect unto you and make you fruitful and multiply you and will establish my covenant with you. Now let's drop down to verse 11. And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not hate you. If you keep the commandments, my soul shall not hate. If you keep the law, my soul shall not hate you. Look at this. And I will walk among you, and will be your God, and ye shall be my people. So again, if you keep the law, if you walk in my statutes and keep my judgments, God says, if ye walk in my statutes and keep my judgments, my commandments, and do them, do my laws, for I will have respect unto you and make you fruitful and multiply you and establish my covenant with you. Verse 11, and I will set my tabernacle among you. He's talking to Israel now. You, and my soul shall not abhor you. And I will walk among you and will be your God, and ye shall be my people. So this is what God promises Israel if they kept the law. He would have, in verse 9, he would have respect. He would set his tabernacle, and he would walk among us if we kept the law. Now let's drop down to verse 14 and see what happens if we will not keep the law. What's going to happen if they didn't keep the law? I keep saying we because we're the true children. We are a repeat of our forefathers. Doesn't matter what somebody thinks. It's about how you teach this book. Leviticus 26:14. But if ye will not hearken unto me and will not do all these commandments. So if you will not hearken unto me as God and do all the commandments. This is the opposite. If you keep the law, I'm going to respect you. I'm going to make my tabernacle among you, and I'm going to walk among you. But if ye will not hearken unto me and will not do all these commandments, watch this. Let's drop down to verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. And they that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. Now, this is what he's going to do if Israel breaks the law. He's going to hurt us. He's going to hurt us. No Christian church talks about that. No Sunday brick building on a corner talks about that. Watch this. And I will break the pride of your power. Your power was your throne. Remember the throne, Psalms 89:29. And I will make your heaven. Your heaven was your power. I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. So he's letting us know. He's letting us know in verse 14, if you will not hearken to do my laws, then he's going to break the pride of the power of Israel, and he will make our heaven. Again, you see heaven. Israel had heaven. Remember now, we're coming back here. Remember now, Deuteronomy 11. Deuteronomy 11. I get you to understand this. Deuteronomy 11. 21, that your days may be multiplied, and the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. The days of heaven on the earth would be if we kept them laws. Them laws had to be everywhere. And if we kept them, it would have been as the days of heaven upon earth. And the days of heaven upon earth was possessing nations. Stay with me. The days of heaven was possessing nations. And every place that we wanted would be ours. And no one would be able to stand before us in war. And the fear and the dread would be upon the nations. That's what heaven was. But that came if we kept the law. And thou shalt write them, that's the laws, upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. See, the days of heaven upon the earth again came with the possession of nations and lands, and they could not do anything about it. There shall no man be able to stand before you. That was heaven. But remember, going back to the book of Leviticus, there's another side to this. Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26. Verse 14. But if you will not hearken unto me and will not do all these commandments, here's the other side. If you won't keep the law, watch this. Look what is, and I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. Now your enemies are going to kill you. The enemies are the Gentiles. And you shall be slain before the Gentiles. That's Israel's enemy. It's just like we say, that's like we say, brothers and sisters, in Daniel. This is why we want to show you that. We want to show you that. This is real. When they went down to Babylon, I want you to look at this. This is what Daniel says to an Ethiopian king. Now remember, Daniel is an Israelite. The Ethiopians, the Babylonians, are Gentiles. Here's an example. Then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belshazzar, watch this, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belshazzar answered and said, my Lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. Who would be the enemies of King Nebuchadnezzar? Israel. The Gentiles were enemies to Israel, like we're proving to you. Don't test us. The Gentiles were Israel's enemies. Understand? The Gentiles, look, this is what he says. When he says, Belshazzar, right? Answered and said, my Lord, the dream be to them that hate thee. The them that hate thee were the Jews they took into captivity. The hate thee, when it says to them that hate thee, the them that hated Babylon were Israelites, because Babylon took them into captivity. And the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. So the Israelites were enemies to the Babylonians, meaning the Israelites were enemies to the Gentiles. So when we go back, whoop, pay attention to Leviticus. Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26 and 18. Now remember, we're stopping back by 14. But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, watch. Let's go back to verse 18. Verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies, the Gentiles. The Gentiles are going to slay you. They that hate you, remember, Daniel says, this dream be to them that hate thee. The Israelites hated the Babylonians, and the interpretation to thine enemies. Notice what it says here again. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you, which is the Gentiles, the enemies, shall reign over you. They're going to reign. They're going to reign. And ye shall flee when none pursueth. Watch this. And if ye will not yet for all this hearken unto me, when this happens, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. Because that's the reason why it's happening. Because you're sinning against God. And I will break the pride of your power. And I will make your heaven as iron, and your earth as brass. Now, he says, I will, remember, your heaven, earth, your heaven, earth. Genesis 14:19. Just wanted to go right back into this. Genesis 14:19. It's a different level to this. Genesis 14:19 says, and he blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. See, Abraham was the possessor of heaven and earth. As Israel was, let's go back to the book of Leviticus. Leviticus 26, verse 14. But if ye will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments. So if you break my commandments, pay attention now. I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. What does this mean? That means if you keep the law, you will still have heaven and earth. But if you break the law, I'm going to take heaven and earth from you. Simple as that. So Israel having heaven and earth was based on them keeping law. And Israel losing heaven and earth would be based upon them breaking it. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. That's what we're proving. So let's take a look at this. Lamentations 2, verse 1. Now, Babylon has come in. Babylon are the Gentiles now. They've came and they have taken the Jews into captivity. That's what the Lamentations is about. So when we look at Lamentations, understand these are the Lamentations of Jeremiah. And as we read, he's going to reveal something to us. Lamentations 2 and 1. It says, how the Lord covered the daughter of Zion, that's Israel, with a cloud of his anger, and cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. What does it mean when it says, has cast down from heaven unto the earth? Ask a Christian that. Does this mean that God cast down from the third heaven a nation? No. What it meant in the book of Leviticus chapter 26 verse 19, this is an example of it right here. God would use nations to cast Israel from heaven to the earth. This right here is one of the proofs that show that Israel was the kingdom of heaven. That's why it says, we're going to come back here. That's why it says in Matthew chapter 11 and verse 12. It says, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent taketh by force. The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. Who is the kingdom of heaven? Israel. There was suffering violence. Who was causing Israel violence at this time? Let me ask you. Who would be causing the Israelites violence at this time? Rome. These are the people that are causing the kingdom of heaven to suffer violence. See, the Bible is not going to change. The kingdom of heaven suffered violence because of what? Why was the kingdom of heaven suffering violence and the violent was taking it by force? The book of Matthew. Why was the kingdom of heaven being taken by force? The book of Matthew 26. Watch. Matthew 26. One verse. Verse 45. Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto him, sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hand of sinners. The Pharisee and the Sadducee were sinners, brothers and sisters. They always like to try to mock us and say, oh, since we teach the law, we're the Pharisee and Sadducee. No, you can see here the Pharisee and the Sadducee were sinners. Sinners. Those were the sinners he was turning to. The Pharisee, Sadducee scribes, the wicked. And the reason why, look at this. We're going to show you. We're going to show you in the book of Luke. Make sure you see this. It's going to show you dead on. Luke 16:14. And the Pharisees also who were covetous. See, covetous. Covetous breaks this law here. Thou shalt not covet. See, the Pharisees were sinners. They were covetous. And the Pharisees also who were covetous heard all these things, and they derided him. They made fun of Christ. That's why Christ said in verse 15, and he said unto them, ye are they which justify yourselves. That is what these ministers are doing, brothers and sisters. They're justifying themselves. It's not that the Bible justifies. It's they're justifying themselves. Before you justify yourselves before men, but God knoweth your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. What is highly esteemed among men? Money, homes, cars. That's why he called them covetous. You were covetous because the things that are highly esteemed among men are sin unto God. So Christ was turned into the hand of sinners. And guess what would happen if sin was involved? God would send a nation in and he would take them into captivity. When Christ said in Matthew 11, verse 12, when he says, Matthew 11, verse 12, and from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. It was suffering violence from Rome. And the violent take it by force. They're taking it by force. Now, when they would, because I want you to see this. I want you to see this. What would now, remember what we was talking about in Leviticus. Because now we know that the kingdom of heaven was Israel. When it says in the book of Leviticus 26, verse 18, it says, verse 17, and I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth. Okay? Now, verse 19, and I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven. Remember, Christ says the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence. So that kingdom of heaven was Israel. That's why it says, I will make your heaven iron and your earth as brass. It was happening in the time of Christ. Rome was beginning to overtake the Jews, the children of Israel at that time. Why? Because of sin. The Pharisees were covetous. They were sinners. That's why this always circulated around sin. It never changed. So if he's going to make our heaven as iron and our earth as brass, that means we're going to go into slavery. The heaven would be taken away and we would be in slavery. Okay? That's why Luke says, Luke 21, verse 21. It says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, leave, and let not them that are in the countries hitherto enter into. So Christ is letting us know, let not them that are in the countries enter into. Let nobody come in. Don't come back. Flee to the mountains. Those that are in the midst of it, depart out, get out. And let not them that are in the countries enter into. Let not them that are in other nations come back here. Don't come back here. Watch this. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. All things which are written may be fulfilled. We're going to show you what all things are written. Written now. Look. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. This people was Israel. So it would be great distress. What was distress? Let's look at what distress was. Nehemiah 9. We're going to show you. Going to be real interesting, brothers and sisters, how we do this. What is distress? What is distress? Watch this. Nehemiah 9. Look, verse 36. It says, behold, we are servants this day, and for the land that thou gavest unto our fathers to eat the fruit thereof and the good thereof, behold, we are servants in it. So you're servants in your own land, meaning somebody is ruling over you. They're ruling over you. Now watch what happens. And it yieldeth much increase unto the kings of the Gentiles, whom thou hast set over us, because of our sins. Remember Leviticus 26, 18, 17 through 19. Because of our sins, they rule over us. Also, they have dominion over our bodies. They have dominion over our bodies. Brothers and sisters, this is slavery. The Bible all day long is showing slavery, captivity. When they have dominion over your bodies. A nation will have dominion over your bodies. You know what we're talking about here? And over our cattle at their pleasure. And we are in great distress. So great distress is when other nations had dominion over our bodies and over our cattle. That is how we were in distress, when another nation had access to everything we had. Brothers and sisters, when it says they also they have dominion over our bodies, reality. See, this is the reality. Slavery. It's not a lie. And we are in great distress. So great distress was when the nations had dominion over the body and the possession. The body and the possession. That's distress. Going back to Luke 21. Luke 21. Luke 21:23. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress. The great distress is you're going to have a situation where other nations are going to have dominion over your bodies and your cattle. So this nation that would cause you distress would be this one. Right here. They can't get away. They're the so-called Romans, and the Romans are the Gentiles that killed Christ. So who would go through the distress? Israel, by the hands of the Romans. All right? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive unto all nations, slavery unto all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentile. This is the Gentile who's going to trot them down. This is the Gentile that would trod down the land until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Oh, okay. So now we know who caused the children of Israel distress. It would be the Gentiles. him in particular. So notice when it says the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, this is the fulfillment of that violence. Israel would lose. Look, that's why he says in Matthew. That's why we're trying to get you to understand. Matthew 11. Verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent taketh by force. The kingdom of heaven that suffereth violence was Israel, the same kingdom that was heaven before. It never changed. That's why the Bible says in Lamentations, let's go back to Lamentations. Lamentations. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. Lamentations 2, verse 1. When it says, how hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud of his anger, and cast down from heaven to the earth the beauty of Israel. How did he cast down from heaven to the earth Israel? With nations. See, God cast his people from heaven to the earth. They became slaves, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. Look at this. The Lord has swallowed up all the habitations of Jacob. See? And hath not pity. He has thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground, slaves. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof. So see, to understand this, the way we're entering in this way because we're going to build on this. We want you to see what it meant when it says Abraham was the possessor of heaven and earth. We had to go this way. Now, by keeping the law in the land, it would have been the days of heaven. Deuteronomy 11:21. If we broke the law, this particular thing right here happened to us. We were cast down from heaven because we had rulership. Heaven was power. Cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel. Now remember, going back to Deuteronomy, and we're going to move forward. Going back to Deuteronomy 11. I'm swinging back by here for a reason. Deuteronomy 11, verse 20. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children, in the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth. So as the days of heaven upon the earth, watch this, look at this, and the Lord will drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations, and mightier than yourselves. Notice it says, and ye shall possess the Gentiles. Now let's see. Let's go back to the law. Let's go back to the law again. In the book of Leviticus. Let's go a chapter before that. The book of Leviticus, chapter 25. The book of Leviticus 25. And we're going to start in verse 44. I want you to look at this. It says, thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen, the Gentiles. The Gentiles. So we're talking about the Gentiles now. Of course, this would be when Israel was in their land. That's why it says, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy God. Rule over who? Israelites. You shall not, that's why it says, for they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. That was Israel. They shall not be sold as bondmen. You shall not sell your brother as a slave. Thou shalt not rule, see the rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy God. But look at this. But thy bondmen. So this is when Israel is ruling. We're going to give you an example. We're going to give you an example. We're not just going to leave you hanging. Thou shalt not rule over him, thy brother, with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy God. But both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the Gentiles that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So if the heathen that are round about you, you're going to buy as bondmen and bondmaids. The heathen now. The heathen. Now pay attention. I want you to pay attention to this. Moreover, the children of the strangers, which would be the Gentiles, the children of the strangers, the other nations, that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession. Now you see possession. Now you see what possess means. Your possession is your slave. Watch. Hold on. And ye shall take them as an inheritance. Inheritance, the them is the heathen. The heathen. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So this is talking about the heathen. Heathen. Again, moreover, the children of the strangers. The strangers would be the heathen, the other nations, that do sojourn among you. Of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, that were born in your land, and they shall be your possession. Possession. You shall possess them. Watch. And ye shall take them. The them are the Gentiles, the strangers that are born among you, as an inheritance for you and your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. So a possession, bondmen forever, means your possession was a slave, or a slave was your possession. And they would be Israel's possession forever. It would never change. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. Rigor is hard bondage. So notice. The heathen in verse 44 would be an inheritance for the children of Israel and a possession. And that possession would be their slave. The slave was their possession. This is reality. This is a reality. Now, again, we're going back to 1 Kings 9, because I want to show you that David did it. David did this. 1 Kings 9. Verse 20. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel. Okay? Which were not of the children of Israel. So these are other nations. In other words, the Gentiles. That's what you're looking at. Their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able utterly to destroy. Whereupon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bondservice unto this day. So he made the other nations that were left in the land slaves, as the commandment spoke. We're showing you, but watch this. Watch this. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, which means slave. But they were men of war. He put them in the army. And his servants, he brought them under his wing, up under his kingdom. And his princesses, rulers, and his captains, and rulers over his chariots, and his horsemen. So he made the men of Israel warriors in his armies. Sound familiar? If you look at the head of an army, the white man, look at this, the white man has his own men of war, his own servants, his own princes, his own captains, his own rulers over his chariots, and his horsemen. His people are in those spots, which they call justice. But when it came down to the other nations, Solomon made them slaves. But the children of Israel, he made no bondmen, which means slave. So Solomon did what the law required. He made the other nations beside Israelites that were in the land slaves. Don't tell us that things are going to change or have changed. Don't tell us that. All the time, from the time of Israel to David, the same thing is still happening. The other nations were made slaves, but upon his own people, he did not make a slave. So in the rulership of Israel, now this is an example. When Solomon ruled, Israel had heaven upon the earth, because you can see their heaven upon the earth. All the Gentiles were made slaves. As it says in Deuteronomy 11:21 through 24. The Bible is a book of reality, man. It's showing you over and over. The Gentiles, the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, those that were not of the children of Israel, the children that were left after them in the land of Israel, whom the children of Israel were not able to utterly destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bondservice, slavery unto this day. Bondservice is slavery. Other nations, slavery, but not his own brothers and sisters. We read that in the law in the book of Leviticus 25, 44 through 46. Solomon is executing the law given by Moses in Leviticus 25, 44 through 46. It's the same thing. The Gentiles were made slaves. Now we're going into it. Because Christians say, oh, yes, he's right. They were slaves. But, when it comes to the new heavens and the new earth, the new kingdom, the kingdom is coming, we're all going to be together. We're all going to be together. Now, let's go back. One verse. The book of Leviticus 26. No, Leviticus 25. 25. Because we want to make sure you understand this. I want one verse. The book of Leviticus 25, verse 46. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you. Oh, who? The strangers that will be your possession in verse 25, which were the Gentiles. Look at what's going on. So look, matter of fact, we're going to read all of these, because we're going to go to Psalms 2. Again, the book of Leviticus 25:44, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the Gentiles, the heathen, that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Okay. Moreover, the children of the strangers, which are of the Gentiles. Because remember now, brothers and sisters, you can all look at this. And if thy brother, the brother is your own people, be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, thou shalt relieve your brother, though he be a stranger and a sojourner. So your brother from another place, your brother born in another place, was also a stranger. Don't let them have you think that stranger means just one thing. Your brother in another place was also a stranger, a sojourner, and he was to be treated different from the other nations, which means racism. This is an example of racism. When you treat your people right and others not the way you treat your brother, that's racism. Reality. Though your brother be a stranger that was born someone else, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, because he was born in another land, you got to do him right. But when we go down to the stranger, which moreover of the children of the strangers, which would be of the heathen in verse 44, that do sojourn among you. So if he comes, if one from now your brother from another nation can come and sojourn with you, you're to treat him right. Let him live with you, build him up. But if the children of strangers, which would be from the other nations, sojourned among you, of them shall ye buy. Okay, you get to buy them. You don't buy your brother. You buy the other nations and their families that are with you, which they shall beget in your land. In your land. See, it's your land. Land. And they shall be your possession. So if any of these heathen are in the land of Israel, they're going to be slaves. Slaves. Okay? Now remember, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for you, an inheritance for your children after you. So they shall be an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. So see, it was a difference in the two. Though the brother was a stranger, you're to help him, relieve him. But if you had a stranger which was from another nation, he was your inheritance, your possession. So an inheritance was a possession. Watch this same thing. I want you to pay attention to this same thing in the book of Psalms. Now here's where it gets interesting. In the book of Psalms, chapter 2, Psalms chapter 2, verse 6, it says, Yet have I set my king upon my holy mountain, or my holy hill of Zion. So, yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said unto me, Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. Look at this. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the Gentiles for thine inheritance. And the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Look at that. So again, inheritance is possession. So Christ is also going to inherit the Gentiles for a possession. I'm pausing here, brothers and sisters, because I want you to see this. Christ is going to inherit the Gentiles as a possession, like Israel did, like in the law. Pay attention. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the Gentiles for thine inheritance. And the uttermost parts of the earth for thine possession. Okay, look at this. Look at this. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now we're going somewhere. Now, again, here's what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do, brothers and sisters, is we're trying to prove that as the nations in times before will be slaves, or would have been slaves. I'll say it like this, because I'm trying to think of something, and I don't need to do that. I need to go back to reading. But I'm going to make this comment. Christ is going to inherit the heathen as a possession. What was the possession? Again, what was the possession? Pay attention. This is what we want you to know. You see, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So you get the heathen, which are the inheritance, which are the possession. Let's go back and read what the possession was again. Look at Leviticus 26. Verse 46. No. Leviticus 25. I'm sorry. Leviticus 25, 46. I'm sorry about that. It says, and ye shall take them, the them are the heathen. The same heathen mentioned in Psalms 2 and 8. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen. Heathen, right? Go down. And ye shall take them. That's the heathen. The strangers, the heathen in verse 44. And ye shall take them as an inheritance. The heathen as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. So the inheritance was the possession. See, when it says the uttermost parts of the earth, who's in the uttermost parts of the earth? The Gentiles. That's why the heathen and the uttermost parts of the earth in possession. So the inheritance for the children were to inherit the Gentiles for a possession. They shall be your bondmen. So your possession was your slave forever. The heathen according to Leviticus 44, would be an inheritance for the children of Israel, which was the possession, which was slave, bondmen. So notice, early on in the law, the heathen was the inheritance for the children of Israel, which was the possession. And what do you possess? They shall be your slaves, bondmen forever. So the part of the inheritance of the children of Israel was to have slaves. Slaves. Come on now. Reality. Now, if when we go back to Psalms 2, pay attention to Psalms 2 in verse 8. Now, we know, according to commentary, he's talking about Christ here. The Son that was begotten was Christ. Ask of me, and I shall give thee, Christ, the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So who's going to inherit the Gentiles? And who's going to possess the Gentiles? Christ. Meaning the Gentiles will go back into slavery when Christ returns. That was always their fate. This stuff these Christians are doing, no. The heathen will be the inheritance and possession of Christ. Now, I ask of you. Verse 9. Let me do this before I ask of you. And thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Now, when it says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession, and thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Is Christ going to be the only ones breaking them with the rod of iron? Is he going to be the only one? We're getting into this. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Is Israel, is Christ, when he inherits the heathen and possess the heathen and the lands, when he breaks them with a rod of iron, when he dashes them in pieces like a potter's vessel, will he be doing it alone? The book of Revelation. The book of Revelation 2. The book of Revelation 2:25. But that which ye have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. To him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. So not only is Christ going to rule with a rod of iron, but a certain people is going to rule with a rod of iron with them. Now, see, Christians, verses like these, they read them, but I'm going to show you how they read them. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter's shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So see, brothers and sisters, it's going to be a rule. No. They'll try to exegete. No. When it says, he shall rule them with a rod of iron, look at this, And he that overcometh and keepeth my works, his works is his commandments, unto the end. To him will I give power over the nations, power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter's shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So it says here that if you overcome, you're also going to rule them with a rod of iron, like Christ. So Christ isn't going to be the only ones inheriting and possessing nations. Israel would be too. And we're going to prove to you that, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, is from Israel right now. The book of Micah, chapter 4. This isn't talking about anybody. Micah 4. In verse 10, pay attention. It says, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field. The field is in captivity. And thou shalt go even to Babylon. 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 There shalt thou be delivered. So here is the deliverance from Babylon. See, brothers and sisters, Babylon, look. There shall thou be delivered. So we shall be delivered from Babylon. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. Also, Babylon was the enemies of Zion, like we proved in Daniel 4:19. These verses support each other. Accepting them is the problem. So, what Babylon would we be delivered from? We need to understand the Babylon. Psalms 37, Psalms 137. Who would this Babylon be? Psalms 137, verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon. So remember, Esau is also the second Babylon. Daughter means the second. Esau would be considered Babylon in the last days. That's what it says, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee is the man. Happy shall that man be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Watch. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. So again, we're looking at a power that is going to come, that is going to destroy the power of Babylon. And the he that taketh and dasheth the little ones against the stones will be those that are judging the daughter of Babylon. We're showing you something. So understand. Back to Michael. Micah 4. In verse 10. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt go, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. Babylon. Now this is a future prophecy. There shalt thou be delivered. See, Israel was not delivered from the first Babylon. You can't find it anywhere. The power changed before King Cyrus let them go. They were not delivered from Babylon. There's no verse that Christians can come up with to say Israel was delivered from Babylon. No, they were not. So this is a prophecy. When it says, there shall thou be delivered, there the Lord shall redeem thee. The thee is Israel, from the hand of thine enemies, which were the Gentiles. So it's showing that Israel would be delivered from the Gentiles. Pay attention now. Now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let our eyes look upon Zion. But watch this. But they know not they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as the sheaves unto the floor. Gather them. Look at this. Arise and thresh. Here we go. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron. Iron. I will make your horn iron, your power iron, and I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. Thou shalt beat in pieces many people. That's how we know the Revelation 2 verse 27 is talking about everybody. When Israel is delivered from the hand of the enemy, and those nations that were gathered against us, see, they didn't understand the counsel of the Lord. For he shall gather them as sheaves unto the threshing floor. Watch this. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion. Thresh, O daughter of Zion. For I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people. Beat in pieces. Pow, pow, pow. And I will consecrate their gain, the gain, unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. So the nations will have their gain, their substance taken away, and it shall be consecrated to the Lord and to the Lord of the whole earth. That's Christ. What you're reading here, brothers and sisters, is that however they see it, Israel is going to beat the Gentiles into pieces. No getting away. That's why when you look at the Bible prophesies again and again who's going to be slaves, who's going to rule. Psalms 148. Now we usually use Psalms 148 to prove to you that the saints are the children of Israel. But we're going to finish this off because it's a continuation. Psalms 148:14. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. A people near unto him, praise ye the Lord. So we read this to prove to you that the saints are the children of Israel. But it continues on into verse 149. Chapter 149. It continues on into chapter 149. It continues. And it says, praise ye the Lord, sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise in the congregation of the saints. The saints, let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king. Look at this. Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto him with the timbrel and harp. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. His people, who was his people? Who was his people? He also exalted the horn of his people. Here's his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. A people near unto him, praise ye the Lord. So his people were the children of Israel. Hold on now. For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Let the saints, which are the children of Israel, be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. What are we going to do? What are the saints? Look, this to execute vengeance upon the heathen. Again and again and again, you see the heathen. You see the Gentiles. Gentiles are in everything, ain't they? But the Gentiles are on the wrong side. To execute judgment upon the Gentiles and punishments upon the evil Israelites. They're going to suffer with them. That's why it says the punishments and means as well as punishments upon the evil, wicked Israelites. Your pastors out here that agree with this white system, they're going to pay too. Watch. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Wait a minute. Hold on. To execute upon them the judgment written. That's what the law says. This honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. So the honor that the saints have is taking the other nations into slavery like it always was before. Don't tell us this has not happened. This is Psalms 149 is evident that nations will go into slavery. It doesn't change. In the time of Christ, the heathen will still be a possession. It's evident. The saints, which are the children of Israel, when you read in verse 5, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen. Who's going to execute vengeance upon the Gentiles? The saints in verse 5. The saints in verse 5 are going to execute vengeance upon the Gentiles and punishments upon their wicked brethren that stayed in that system of idolatry. These Negroes. And bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Chains and iron, brothers and sisters, is slavery. Nations are going to go into slavery in the future. The same as they were in slavery under Israel. Notice let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen. The saints, the children of Israel, are going to execute vengeance upon the Gentiles and punishments upon the evil Israelites, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to make them slaves. The law never changed. As they were slaves under Israel in Leviticus 25:44 through 46, they're going to be slaves in the kingdom up under Israel again. It does not change. When the Bible says in Psalms 2, this is why it's so important to understand. When the Bible says in Psalms 2, verse 8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. The inheritance was the possession. The heathen would be an inheritance, which was the possession. Possession. And it's obvious which heathen he's going to possess. Which is it? According to prophecy. Numbers 24. Numbers 24. Verse 17. Here's Balaam. And I shall see him, but not now. And I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall a star come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. Pay attention. And Edom shall be a possession. Edom shall be a possession. Seir is where they dwell, also shall be a possession for his enemies, a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Look at that. Seir will be a possession for the children of Israel. The Edomites will be a possession. Because when it says, and Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. His enemies, the enemies of Esau, was Israel. Again, the enemies of Esau is Israel. That's why it says, and Israel shall do valiantly. Again, Israel is going to possess Edom, Esau. Balaam saw this. And not only did Balaam see it, Amos saw it. Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. Verse 11. In that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom. Come on now. Possess. Your possession is your slave. And all the heathen which are called by my name are the wicked Israelites that were with them. We're telling you, our brothers and sisters in this Sunday Christian crap that promote that, our brothers and sisters will go down with the system. They're going down too. We keep telling you. That's why it shows in the Bible that they may possess the remnant of Edom. When Israel is raised back up, when they receive the power, the tabernacle of David, they're going to possess the remnant of Edom. Again, Edom will be a possession. Two prophets saw it. Edom is going to become a possession. And all the heathen which are called by his name are all the idolaters of Israel. That's who that is. Saith the Lord that doeth this. When you are a possession, you are a slave. And when Israel again is raised up, who's going into slavery? Edom. Nations. It never changed. It never changed. That's why, again, let's go back to Psalms 2 and 9. Psalms 2 and 9. I want to do this. Psalms 2 and 9. Psalms 2 and 9. And thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Who? The heathen that is going to be his inheritance, his possession, which is his bondmen, his slaves. And not only him, Revelation 2. Revelation 2. Revelation 2:26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter. They shall be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So see, not only is Christ going to break them with a rod of iron, but the Israelites that overcometh by keeping Christ's works are going to do it too. They're going to rule, and they're going to beat the nations into powder. And who do you beat into powder? Your slaves. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. But stay tuned, brothers and sisters. We'll be right back after this break. All right, brothers and sisters, we're back. Thank you for holding. Now, again, we're staying with what we were saying. Forgive us, brothers and sisters. It's been a rough little episode for me, but, So, let me put it back. He that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the Gentiles, the nations of the Gentiles. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessel of a potter shall they be broken to shivers. Broken to shivers were the Gentiles, even as I have received of my Father. So in the kingdom, the nations are going to be in slavery under Israel like they were when Moses gave the law of the land in the book of Leviticus 44 through 46. It didn't change. The destiny of the nations is slavery. No matter what part of the Bible it's in, it is slavery. It was never equal. It was never that way. That's why the Bible says, when you look again in the book of Psalms, evident, the book of Psalms, chapter 149. I like Psalms 149 because it is evident. It is evident what we've been saying all along. Evident. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance, upon the Gentiles. That's all this was about. The Gentiles were never, what they're teaching now about the Gentiles which believe, they really don't understand that if you can't prove the Gentiles being non-Jews by chapter and verse. Now what I mean is, I need to see a verse that says non-Jew. Then the Gentile is what the verse will say. And if the Gentiles in 1 Corinthians 12, 1 and 2 says that they were idolaters, his brethren were Gentiles because of idolatry, Christians avoid that. Then when it comes to things like this, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, that's the wicked Israelites, watch, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Who do you put chains and fetters of iron on? Who? Slaves. You put chains and fetters of iron on slaves. I mean, that's simple. How hard? You can't make it hard. Can't be this hard. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. To execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord. Who were those saints again? He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. A people near unto him, praise ye the Lord. So whether it be from the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, when we see, one more time, if it be to the book of Leviticus 25, verse 44, when it talks about the bondmen which shall be of the heathen that are round about us, being the children of strangers, ye shall take them as an inheritance for you, for your children after you. I read that all the time wrong. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you. So the heathen in verse 44 would be an inheritance unto the children of Israel. To inherit them for a possession. So the inheritance was your possession. What was possession? They shall be your bondmen forever. So your possession was your slave, and it was forever. That's of the heathen. And when we go back to Psalms 2, it's going to happen in the time of Christ. It never changed. When they try to teach salvation, everybody, no. Look at this. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. So the heathen was the inheritance, which was the possession. So if the inheritance was the possession, that was the slave. And thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. This is going to happen. And someone else, that's why it's evident when we go to Revelation, because it shows that the people are going to do the same thing Christ is going to do. Who would do that? And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, him will I give power over the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So not only is Christ going to rule them and break them with a rod of iron and inherit them, so are the children of Israel. And this is in the kingdom. So you tell me what changed. Nothing changed. As the heathen were to be slaves to Israel in the time of Moses, they're going to be slaves in the kingdom. It never changed. Slavery to slavery. That's why the Bible says in Revelation 13, verse 10, he that leadeth into captivity, which is slavery, shall go into slavery. He that killeth with the sword, which is war, must be killed with war. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. See, the reason why the saints had to have patience was they're waiting on the man that leadeth into captivity to go into captivity. And he is the one that leadeth into captivity, and he shall be the one that goes into captivity. And this is the patience and the faith of the children of Israel. So the fate of the Gentiles is to be slaves, as it was in the past. And with that, brothers and sisters, all praises to the Most High. I'm your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. And again, whether people accept it or not, what was in the beginning will also be in the end. As you can see, the fate, the destiny, or whatever you want to call it, of the other nations are to be slaves to Israel. And that is never going to change. Peace be with you, brothers and sisters, until next time, and all praises.